Hello, you're watching TVP World Talks. I'm Jonasz Rewiński. Latest reports indicate Italy has found itself on the receiving end of Moscow's intelligence and hybrid warfare operations, with Russia's activities ranging from facilitating the flow of illegal migrants to espionage. Italy's government has maintained its staunch support of Ukraine against Russian aggression, but how well prepared is Meloni's team in the face of Putin's relentless push to undermine European unity? Joining us now is Giuseppe Adamo, Institute of New Europe, Polish-Italian author based in Warsaw, specializing in diplomacy, security and Italian politics. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Thank you, Jonasz.
So these latest reports concerning the so-called shadow war, what do they encompass? And is Italy prepared to counter these operations?
This is a really important question. We have been seeing how, for example, Italian media had been pretty fragile in terms of influence of Russian disinformation. Since the beginning, we had problems with having Russian propagandists in Italian TVs, both private and public, and the lack of knowledge of what organized state disinformation is in Italy is a big problem. Statistics show us that 56% of Italians at the beginning of the war were against sending weapons to Ukraine. And this is where Italy is the weakest. What is about shadow war, we have been seeing recently how the activity of Russian intelligence is not only about the information area, but is also about hybrid attacks and espionage. For example, is news a few days ago that a Russian drone was spotted flying over Leonardo. Leonardo is one of the biggest defense company in Italy, plants close to the Maggiore Lake in the northern Italy. They found out that the radio frequency this drone was using were a Russian source, where it could be tracked back to Russia. So
it's a major issue, isn't it, right? Do you think that something even worse could happen? We've had sabotage operations conducted by Russia in other countries, such as, for example, mysterious fires, explosions, even targeting military facilities in countries like the Czech Republic or Germany in the past.
Well, back this year, for example, we had reports seeing Russian spying vessels in the South Italy, close to the big gas pipeline called TAP, which is connect, if I well remember, Azerbaijan to Italy, which is an alternative supplier than Russia, because we have to remember that the majority of electricity income of Italy comes from gas-related suppliers and producers. So yes, I think there is a big challenge to understand the Italian people that only because a Russian invasion of Italy, a classical Russian invasion of Italy is unlikely to happen, doesn't mean there is other way that this country could damage our security. Italy is a country where the economy of the last 20 years has been kind of stagnating. Italians are poorer than 20 years ago in the terms of purchase power. Convincing them that there is a common European defense for a country like Ukraine, which is not part of the European Union, it's not part of NATO, could be challenging because people will fail to understand what is the European defense architecture, could fail to understand that the defense of Ukraine is in Italian interest. It could fail to understand that relying on Russia as a gas supplier is simply idiotic. Why you should buy gas, even if it's cheap, by somebody who's threatening you, blackmailing you, and using it as a tool. So I think there are space where we could work on the information area, but it's getting challenging.
Do you think that Meloni's government could actually play a major role, perhaps allying itself with countries of Central and Eastern Europe, Nordic countries, in convincing the Trump administration that it still has a vital interest in Europe? I mean, in the face of Russian threat, because as we can see, Meloni's government understands that we need to help Ukraine, understands the Russian threat, at the same time is in good relations with Trump. Do you think that this presents a unique opportunity?
I think yes. I think this is what she's more or less trying to do. She found herself in two fronts right now. From one side, she's in a vital interest to have good relation with the European Union, and she kind of have good relation with Ursula von der Leyen. But from the other side, she had been always close to Trump. She was the only European leader who was invited to the swearing of the new American president. So what she could do the best right now, what she, I think, trying to do is leveraging and be a bridge between the European Union and the American administration. the biggest of problems of her right now is her coalition partner. As we know, she has two main coalition partners. One is from the center-right, is from the EPP, the European People's Party, and that's pretty okay. But the other one from Patriots from Europe, he has showed to us in the past, the League, is called the League, a few pro-Russian positions, or at least peace positions, they call them, against rearm Europe, against sending weapons or soldiers to Ukraine. That could be a little bit of a problem for her, because this coalition party is pushing her back a little bit, because anyway, she needs the confidence vote in the parliament at the end of the story. So, it's challenging. I mean, I think what she's trying to do right now is being a bridge between American administration and the European Union. She's trying hard, but there are both external and internal challenges.
Why do you think Italy is targeted by the Russians so heavily? I mean, apart from supporting Ukraine, does it have anything to do with Russia struggling to maintain its grip in Africa, for example? It has suffered a setback in Syria recently, so you have the Middle East there. Do you think that Italy's role could be the reason why Russia is really interested in undermining Italy's standing in these regions, for example?
Yes, this is one of the reasons. As we know, Giorgia Meloni is trying to reshape Italian policies toward Africa. There's such a thing called Mattei Plan. She wants to prevent illegal immigration from Africa to Europe, heavily investing in agriculture and the industries of this Europe. Criticism must say this is a kind of neo-colonial attitude, but some others are saying that this actually could be a new post-colonial approach where we work with African governments to create wealth to prevent illegal immigration instead of dealing with it afterward. Sure, it will take decades. But from the other side, I think most of the reasons are pretty historical as well. Italy was one of the few countries who had pretty well relationship with the Soviet Union back during the Cold War, even with Christian Democrats country. He has been a moderate country in NATO. He had one of the biggest communist party in Europe. He has even 35% in the 70s. So, and of course, the approval for NATO presence and American presence is less than could be in Central Eastern Europe. So they know about this. They will use this rhetorical, ideological tools to permeate the Italian ideas, the Italian public opinion, and to some degree is even working, which is make us worried, of course.
And also, you've mentioned migration. There are signals that Russia could be leveraging criminal groups operating in Africa and Middle East, basically to facilitate the illegal flow of migrants. Do you think that this is a similar scenario to what we were observing with the Lukashenko regime, who was also using migrants as instruments in a hybrid war?
Migrants had been, as we see in the last few years, a really powerful tool for hybrid war. The fact that the Belarusian regime is literally taking people from Iraq and the Middle East to push them to the Polish border show us that it's pretty possible that the Russian presence in the Sahel, the Russian presence in the sub-Saharan Africa, back with the Wagner group back in the day and now even with regular troops, could absolutely create the circumstance where they could leverage these people, they could take these people and create influx of illegal migrants to Europe. And I will tell you something more. This could be even more effective because if Poland could defend its border because there are land borders, they could put walls, they could put soldiers, defending sea borders is far more complicated, far more costly.
And raises humanitarian issues as well, right?
Yes, because people sink. And if people sink, you have to take them up. I know it sounds pretty banal, but well, it's not the same as defending a land border. It's far more complicated, it's far more costly, it's far more large. So, and it raises humanitarian issue because if you don't intervene right away, people sink in a matter of 20 minutes, 10 minutes if it's like a sinking boat. So it takes issue, but I'm confident because, I mean, she was able to lobby the European Union to change approach on illegal immigration rather with Poland. If back like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we were only talking about redistribution, now we're also talking about external border control. And I think this is one of the reasons she was able to convince Ursula von der Leyen, together with Poland back in the day, because we have seen that illegal immigration is not only a spontaneous flow, but it can be created artificially. It has nothing to do with humanitarian aid or helping those in need. This is about using people as weapons, using people as shields. So we have to act likewise.
Especially in the light of what these regimes are doing cynically, weaponizing migration to achieve their own geopolitical goals. Giuseppe Adamo was our guest today here on TVP World. Thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your insight.
Thank you.
And I'm Jonasz Rewiński. You're watching TVP World. Please stay with us for more latest news and updates.